Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 42 of Sooner Girl Sports Pod. And I have a fantastic interview for you again this week. It is an episode of Crimson Chronicles, my fan series, Sooner Born or Sooner Bred. And this week's guest is Sooner Born Micah Thompson. She is also a former OU rower, and she also worked in the athletic department for 5 years, 2 of those being after her graduation. So you will not want to miss this upcoming talk with Micah Thompson. She is an incredible, great Sooner fan. I've known her for a long time. Her and her whole family are huge Sooner fans. So I cannot wait for you guys to hear my interview with Micah. But before we get to the interview, I want to get to our injury report of the week with my friend, Dr. Jason Leinen. I wish we were talking about a win and almost non-existent injury list, but unfortunately, that's not the case.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was not the way we wanted it to go on
It was not good.
Saturday, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about if we can't win our home games, it doesn't make me feel good about the road games. And
Yeah.
we've got to win at least 2 or 3 of the next 4, and of course we have 2 more home games, so hopefully those are attainable. But I don't know about
Yeah.
LSU now with all that mess. Brian Kelly
Well,
got
yeah, I mean, LSU, they haven't looked great all year. Plus,
no,
now
they
he's a
haven't.
coach. Although I'm glad we don't get him like this next week. Sometimes after a team
Yes,
they rally around the
yes,
coach, and so
yes,
you're
yes.
kind of like, well, they might be good this next week, but maybe then they won't be good.
That's what I'm hoping. I kind of felt like that one was attainable for us, just how their season is
Yeah.
gone. But I don't know who their interim is. If they've named it, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
But
Yeah,
their
and
offensive coordinator got let go as well, which is apparently what caused a lot of the drama. I
okay,
don't know if you
well,
saw that. Yeah,
I didn't see that
apparently,
part of it.
um, I guess they add this is I don't know. I can't remember where I saw this, so I don't know that this is 1,000% accurate, but this is what I saw somewhere. It was they asked him to fire the OC, whose name has
Mm,
escaped me, but he was like, no, and so that started a heated exchange,
okay,
which then
okay.
led to okay, well now you're both fired. So anyway, it sounds like a lot
Crazy
of
deal.
upheaval.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I hate that for them, but maybe it'll work in our favor here in another few weeks. I guess
Yeah.
is silver
Yeah.
lining for us, maybe. But
Well, that, and then speaking of injuries, I mean, Missouri lost their quarterback.
I saw
So,
that.
I
Oh
mean, I don't
man.
know I mean, he was playing well.
Yeah, he was.
I know they're a run heavy team
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so that might not change a whole lot what they do, but
Yeah.
that if you don't have to play the starting quarterback, that's always that's always a
Right.
bad thing.
I
So
know. Yeah, I
maybe
did
we
see
can,
that.
yeah, maybe we can pull some of these games out in the end
I,
here.
I really hope so. Well, they announced the game time for next Saturday at Tennessee, and it's a night game,
Yeah, night game. Yeah, that
so
game's gonna be
that'll
tough. Of
it
course, that one
will.
I think was circled all along for me. Is
I
that's gonna be
yes,
pretty tough on the
for
road.
sure.
That one and Alabama, I think, are both gonna be tough. Now,
Yeah.
maybe, although I heard something about based on the betting line or whatever that Vegas is maybe giving us a chance at this game this
Okay.
weekend.
Okay. Well, last time I saw, I believe we were like a 3.5 point underdog, but it changes daily. So
Yeah,
there's no
yeah.
telling what it'll be by the time Saturday comes. And also, yeah, I guess there's no telling what our starting lineup will look like by the time Saturday
Yeah, it's
comes.
got a
But
lot of guys on some of these lists. It's
I
hard to know,
know. But
you know.
we had a good starting five on the O line on Saturday. I felt like we had 2 freshmen.
Yeah,
But I mean, I didn't really feel like that was a factor in
I
anything. I
mean,
felt
they
like
did
they held
okay
their
for
own. Yeah,
sure. Yeah, I wish we would have committed more to the run,
I
which
know.
you kind of heard all week was
Yep,
going to be the plan, or should have been the
yep.
plan,
Yes,
and then we
yes.
didn't do it. I don't really know why.
I don't either.
I mean, obviously we had a couple of big runs and Robinson got going, but
Yes,
it wasn't. I don't know. I just feel like we should have even committed even more to the run, but I
I
don't know.
know. I agree. I feel like Xavier Robinson was he had the he had the hot hand or whatever, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
why don't we feed him and give him a chance to see what he can do? So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the week. Fingers crossed, I guess, that they're like, hey, this worked. Let's practice some more of that and see what happens.
Exactly.
don't know what's wrong with Mateer. We've joked about it. Eric said, I think his talent was in his thumb or, whatever. And so when he had his surgery, he hasn't been the same since. And so maybe it got removed or whatever. But, and no disrespect to the kid. I know we talked about it before. It could be a lot of mentally him just being subconsciously worried about another injury or re-injury, or just mentally. I can't imagine what they deal with. So, I mean, he knew he had a lot of expectations when he came back to play with Texas. Like, okay, that's a lot of pressure.
Exactly.
And so maybe it's just gotten to him, and I can't blame him if it did. Unfortunately, that's not an acceptable thing to deal with where we are. But I mean, it's just a matter of fact sometimes. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to know, but then he throws that 60-yard pass or whatever was perfect, and couldn't have been thrown any better. And
yes,
but then it seems like he misses some short ones. So I know. And I don't know if that's a thumb. I don't know if that's a mental. Who knows? It's hard to say on some of these things. Hard to say. But
it is.
Hopefully, he can continue to find some things. Or
yes, I hope so.
I think we just need to. I don't know. I feel like we have enough talent on offense compared to a year ago, and we had basically all our receivers hurt every game.
Absolutely.
And we have enough. We obviously have talent on defense to keep us in the games. Now Ole Miss, I knew was going to move the ball. I knew they were going to put up points. And maybe we could have held on to one less touchdown, and so maybe the defense had played a little bit of a role. We got to start getting turnovers, I think.
Yes, we do. We definitely do.
I don't know what is going on with that.
We didn't have any turnovers on our own side, but
yeah. So, anyways,
I think it's just going in. Of course, it being a home game, we were hoping that would be enough advantage for us. And I heard several people mention about how the field conditions were a factor for us, and not so much them, which is not normally the case on your home field. And that's no offense to the turf people at all. I think it's it was a weird weather day for sure. But I mean, I think we knew it was going to be a challenge, that game going in, and just they're a good team. But I think what the hardest thing was how we lost. Just like you said, some of Mateer's throws were not on point. We did have a few defensive issues. I mean, I've had people be completely off the hook with the defense, like they're mad at him. And then I've seen other people like, well, I feel like they played well enough for us to win. I'm somewhere in the middle there. I mean, they played good overall, but there were a few missed tackles and things like that. But, I think they were fairly average for the most part. I don't blame them necessarily for anything. I feel like it's mainly offensive stuff, but I mean, I think the thing is, we had a chance to win that game. We had multiple chances to win that game.
Yeah,
and we
just the little things. I mean, we fumbled the kick return there at the end.
Yes, and then
we were going to have a chance to go win the game. Yeah, the safety was just that's one of those play calls. Like, why don't you run right up the gut? Why are you going around the end?
Yes,
and exposing yourself? Just get a few yards up the gut.
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah.
And that was
a few little things.
Yes.
And, third and long, I mean, I feel like I was joking during the game. Oh, it's 3rd and 12. They got us right where they want us. I mean,
they really did.
3rd and long, it's like every single time they got a first down.
And then we kept running a lot of the same plays, and that was very frustrating. I think at one point, of course, it had happened throughout the game on multiple occasions, but at some point when they missed a PI call on Ole Miss for sure, and I was pretty miffed about that. And then we go and run the same freaking play again, and I just about blew a gasket because I was like, are you kidding me? Like, why are we doing this? And again, I know a lot of people are questioning Ben Arbuckle and his talent and all of that, and play calling, obviously. And I mean, if we're being honest, after this weekend, I guess, quote, rightfully so, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like the guy has time to redeem himself and prove himself. I don't feel like he's completely tanked out. What we've seen in the past, like this time last year, we were in bad shape for sure.
Exactly.
So I'm not completely ready to write the dude off, but I will say, I just hope the next month is good for Venables.
Yeah, we need to at least be competitive, compared to a year ago. We look a lot more competitive.
We totally do. We do. And that's hard too, because I'm like, well, we've come so far, but then I'm like, okay, well, we're not there yet, but we're close. I don't want to say that.
Want to be, but
that's the trigger.
Of course, this is Oklahoma, so we want to.
I know.
We start every year saying, hey, look at the schedule. We could actually go undefeated.
I know, right?
I mean, let's be realistic here with this league we're
especially
in.
not
It's
these
just kind
days.
of tough. Yeah.
I mean, when Vandy is doing what they're doing and
Yeah.
Mississippi State, good congrats
They
to
look a
Jeff
lot
Levy, I
better.
guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they were like the low tier of the SEC, and we're like, okay, well, we can do better than that, right? Well, now look what they're doing. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
now we're
Yeah.
kind of
It's
still in the
tough.
middle of the pack, and that's not to the standard for
Yeah.
OU. And I know a lot of people
Yeah.
are like, well, if we don't go 8-4, what does that mean for Venables? And
Right.
it's just a lot on the table. Obviously, technically, we're looking for a new AD.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
that's
I
true
know
too.
Castiglione's there through June or July or whatever, but technically, we're hiring that position. Do we really want to do all of that?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know that they do anything as far as firing goes unless we just completely get our butts handed to us the
Yeah,
next
if we
4
look
weeks.
terrible, if we look uninspired, okay, then you might talk about it. But yeah, people always get on the
And I'm not on that
downtrend.
case. Yeah.
But if you think about it logically, I mean, we're going to play 4-3, I guess, now that LSU's out of it, but three ranked teams coming up
Yeah.
here in a row. If you win all three of those, somehow you're literally going to be right back in the conversation for playoff
Exactly.
and all this
I
stuff. I mean,
mean,
so you're not really out of it, even though people are ready to
right.
go into the depths of despair and
I
write
know.
everything off.
Yeah,
It's kind of
for
like
sure.
really in even though we haven't looked great as we thought we might, there's still options. There's still
There are. I mean, we're 6-2. I think I'm pretty certain without a doubt that we can at least end up 8-4.
yeah, I think
I
so.
mean, I feel like that we can. I hope that I'm wrong in the sense that we're maybe 9-3. But I hope I'm not wrong in the sense that it's worse. But I'm not in the fire Brent Venables, fire Arbuckle camp by any
Right.
means because
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of aspects to that. But again, it trickles down to recruiting and development and all of that.
Yeah.
And you don't want to just scratch the whole board.
Right. Exactly.
There's a lot on the table. So I'm not in that camp by any means. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we'll just see what happens Saturday. Fingers crossed
Yeah.
we compete. I
Can
think the
at
biggest
least have a
thing,
chance, give us a chance to win maybe and
yes.
see what it looks like. Yeah. Yeah.
I just feel like if we can play some complimentary football and just see that, it would be nice and everybody would feel a lot better, you know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing with our 2 losses is we have not seen that. It's been
Yeah.
bad.
The
So
losses have been bad. Yeah.
it's hard to lose when you're like, but we could have won if we hadn't have played like dog poop or
Exactly.
whatever. So
Yeah.
that's hard. But anyway, on the flip side, injury wise, I know we've got our, I hate to say staple injury on the ones that have been sitting out there for a while. But on Kobe McKenzie, I never did find out exactly what his injury was. No one seems to know anything, which I guess maybe is a good thing. But I will say, so his fiance is Kinsey Hansen, our former softball player.
Oh yeah.
And so I saw on her social media yesterday, she had posted some photos and videos of them. I'm assuming they were from Sunday. So assuming that it was recent footage, I guess, that she posted, he had no brace on, nothing taped, nothing. He looked and acted normal in the video and the photos
Okay.
she posted.
Well, that's
so
good.
maybe he just got dinged up and they were like, okay, just I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Maybe it could be a concussion too, because that again doesn't require any sort of
Well,
outward
yeah.
signs. So maybe it was something like that. I don't know. I don't even remember seeing anything happen to him.
I don't remember seeing much on the field as far as injuries, and I
Yeah,
guess maybe Blaylock was injured at some point,
apparently so, but he came
and
back, so I guess he's fine.
yeah, so it's hard to know. I mean, they just don't give you any information, which
No,
I mean, I kind of get it from their side, although it's kind of like just it's
it's
not hard to say.
frustrating.
He
I
sprained his
know.
ankle. He's
I
he's
know.
working through it. I don't know
Exactly.
why they can't say that. It's not
It's
a
frustrating. And
yeah.
I asked my friend inside source about Kobe McKenzie, and because he on the sideline on the game during the radio broadcast are like he's in the injury tent or whatever, and then he
Mm-hmm.
comes back out, doesn't have a helmet on, and never goes back in the game. That's literally all anyone knows. Nothing was ever
Yeah.
said, and my thing
Yeah, I
is,
mean, that makes you wonder if it's a concussion or
it does.
something,
I'm like, if
but
my
again, I
person
didn't
doesn't
see
know,
anything.
Gabe and Teddy don't know, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again,
it's difficult. Yeah.
maybe it's a good thing. Maybe he really is okay. But, Keontez Lewis has still been on the injury report the last 2 weeks.
I don't know. Yeah. And that's the weirdest one to me because he obviously had a horrible looking injury, but then he came back
the next
and
week.
he had a few plays, but then I don't think last week he played at all.
No, he didn't.
And this week he didn't play at all. So I don't know if there was some kind of weird delayed symptom presentation, which is not all that common unless he was kind of trying to blow it off and not really telling people how he felt. And then he tried to go a little bit and said, "Hey, I'm not feeling normal actually." Yeah. So I mean, sometimes guys have that kind of thing too.
I wondered that too with the next game being Texas. Obviously, everyone wanted to play in that game.
Play,
so maybe he did kind of cover something up, so to speak. And I mean, he played that game, and I don't recall anything happening to him or him being pulled or anything in that game. So for him to have been out the last couple weeks is crazy. And then Derek Simmons, didn't he play last week at South Carolina?
I think he did, but he may have gotten got an ankle or something.
No? I don't remember if he did.
But I don't know. It's kind of that time of the year where guys are. I mean, all teams are going to be dealing with some guys getting kind of dinged up or tweaking something, or they're just kind of yeah. So you may have a little bit of these kind of, even though it's not really a ticky-tack injury, it's just kind of something that's they don't feel 100%, or they just feel like they gotta get some treatment, or they gotta be taped up more, or they gotta be limited in their snaps, or they're going to be listed as doubtful or questionable, and then they might end up playing. So it's just kind of one of the every team is dealing with a certain amount. It just kind of feels. You look at the injury report, and it's like 6 out of the 10 guys are offensive line.
Yes,
it's kind of like, how can we have every single guy in one position? That's what we were last year with receiver. Exactly. It's like, can we just spread it around a little bit if we're going to?
Exactly. I feel
so
like
we
could absorb it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We could absorb it a little more and spread it out if it weren't so concentrated on one position. But Javonte Barnes and Gentry Williams, they were listed as doubtful on the day of, and they didn't play.
Yeah.
So, I don't know going into next week. The good thing is we have a bye week after the Tennessee game.
That's true. Yeah,
so
you can get guys through that game.
Yes, a long-awaited bye.
Rest up.
Yes, we need it. Sure. Hopefully, these guys will kind of recover a little bit more. And no one wants a bye week after a loss, so that's a horrible, horrible mental weight for 2 weeks after a loss.
Yeah, 2 in a row.
So hopefully. I mean, the only quote silver lining would be, well, we were on the road, and it's a very good ranked team. However, let's just go get a win and focus on that for a couple weeks and a little recovery, and move on to Alabama on the road following that. So I guess we'll see, and fingers crossed that. I mean, like I said, I know it could be a lot worse for sure. I'm glad that our list isn't any longer or any more serious for the guys.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had a ton of real serious stuff except our quarterback who had surgery and then came back in 2 weeks. So.
He had his talent organ removed. Well, I feel bad. I really feel bad even joking about it because I can't imagine the mental weight that kid carries. So I do feel bad making a joke about it, but something's going on with him. And I think it would be important for him to understand and for us to understand that it's okay if there is still something going on with him physically or mentally. He just had surgery, 4 or 5 weeks ago. So anyway, it's hard for us as fans to focus on anything other than the on-field product and the win-loss record, but there's a lot that goes into play. So thank you again to my friend Dr. Jason Leinen for joining me each week for an injury report for the team, and also for just chatting a little football with me and talking about all the things going on football this season. So on to this week's Sooner headlines of the week. Have quite a lot to update you on Sooner sports across the board. We will start with our NFL players. As you can see, if you're watching the video, I am wearing my CD shirt. Now, some of you might be saying, but you're not a Dallas fan. And you are correct. I am not a Dallas Cowboys fan. If you don't know, one of the very first words that I said, even before Mama and Dada, was Boo Dallas. Boo Dallas. I was not raised a Cowboy fan. We only rooted for the Cowboys when Barry Switzer was the coach. My dad said that we rooted for Barry and not the team. We wanted Barry to do well, but not the team. Unfortunately, that one led to the other. But nevertheless, not a Cowboys fan, but I am a fan of CD and all of our former Sooner athletes who are now in the NFL and the NBA. And I love watching all of our players at the next level. So shout out to CD. He is back with the Cowboys after missing the first bit of the season with an injury. He is back and doing his normal CD thing. So shout out to CD. Glad to see you back on the field for sure. Jalen Hurts had quite a game in the Eagles win over the Giants this past Sunday. Jalen was Tom Brady's LFG player of the game. He was 15 of 20 for 179 yards, 4 touchdowns. And so shout out to Jalen for really balling out that win over the Giants. And also our Kyler is on a bye week this week, him and the Cardinals. So that is a much needed bye for him as he gets a little extra time to rest his foot from the Liz Frank injury that he is recovering from. We still don't have a lot of information on that or his timeline of recovery, but hopefully we will see him back on the field soon, especially since he's gotten a little extra time to recover from that. Baker Mayfield and the Bucks had another great win, 23-3 over the Saints on the road, 15 of 22 for 152 yards for Baker this week. So shout out to Baker for balling out. He did have a tough loss against the Detroit Lions last Monday night on Monday Night Football. If you listened and watched last week, you remember I had my LFB shirt on, Let's Effing Bake. He was playing Monday Night Football the day that I recorded last week's episode. Unfortunately, that game did not go as we had hoped, but Jared Goff and the Lions are a very good team. It is a very difficult atmosphere to play at Ford Field. So the game, it just wasn't his best game and it did not go their way, but there are a lot of injuries on that Bucs team. If you don't follow the NFL, Mike Evans, he is a highly rated tight end. He was back from one injury, started that game last week against Detroit, and unfortunately went out with another injury, this time a collarbone fracture, and he will be out likely pretty close to the rest of the season, depending on how playoffs pan out. But just a tough go. I mean, if Sooner fans know anything about injuries, boy, Baker's going through it for sure in Tampa Bay. But Tez Johnson, he's one of their rookies. He's really stepped up and got a lot of work in for the Bucs. They're getting the job done when they can. So shout out to Baker for continuing to ball out. I will do a quick mention for our former Sooner Spencer Rattler, though he didn't finish his career at OU. He finished at South Carolina with Shane Beamer. He plays for the New Orleans Saints, as does our Danny Stutzman as well, who's been getting some reps on special teams and things. But Rattler was benched this past Sunday in that loss to the Bucs, so don't know what the future holds for him, but he was benched for their rookie. I did not get to watch that game. It was not in my market available for me to watch, so not sure of a lot of details on that, but Rattler was benched. Now the Bucs have a bye week this coming week, so that'll be good, hopefully, for some of their injuries as well. We have so many former Sooners across the league that are doing great things. Of course, Tressway punting for the Commanders. They play tonight, Monday Night Football, as I'm recording this, against the Chiefs. Nick Benito's doing great things in Denver. They had a huge win yesterday as well. So just lots of former Sooners across the league to watch. Billy Bowman at the Falcons, again, doing some great things. So be sure to check out those guys each week as they play for their NFL teams. Wanted to give a quick tidbit of information in case you missed it. There was padding added to the stadium brick walls around the entire stadium at the Gaylord Oklahoma Family Memorial Stadium just this past week before we took on Ole Miss. So definitely makes me feel a little better after the Keontez Lewis crash back at the Kent State game. He is still on the injury list, which Dr. Jason and I talked about how he returned for Texas, but we have not seen him the last 2 weeks. He's on the injury list. Not quite sure what's going on there. But that was a nasty crash nonetheless. I'm so glad to see some padding, extra precautions put up around the stadium for that going forward for sure. Also wanted to give a quick shout out to the Selman family. You know, they are a big name in Oklahoma football for sure. And Lucius Selman was named to the 2025 SEC Legends class. He's the oldest of the 3 famed Selman brothers who started Oklahoma on the defensive line in the 1970s. It was announced past Wednesday that as a member of the SEC's 2025 Football Legends class, a group of former football standouts who will be honored at events surrounding the SEC football championship game in Atlanta this December. So shout out to the Selmans, shout out to Lucia Selman for that amazing recognition and honor. So glad to have those guys as Sooners. Okay, on to the Ole Miss game this past Saturday in Norman. Of course, Jason and I just talked a little bit about the game and our thoughts on some things. So just want to throw out a few more stats and numbers and different things and thoughts I have on the game. So I'm just going to say one of the main reasons I started this podcast, in addition to just wanting a platform to give a voice for a woman like myself to have an opinion and have a space in the world of sports, and highlighting those sports and athletes and people behind the scenes who often fall between the cracks. It is my honor and pleasure to be able to do that, to be able to highlight all of the people in the world of Sooner sports and all that they bring to the table and provide for us. But my love and my passion for football and softball and basketball, just all things Sooner sports, another main reason is my passion and my frustrations, I guess you could say, just across the board, mainly last year with football season. You will always find me usually huddled around the men, the husbands, not in the kitchen with the women, talking about all the girly mom parenting kitchen things. I like to talk sports, invent about sports, and that's kind of how all of this started. And I actually recorded a voice only podcast after our bowl game loss to Navy late last December. I never ended up publishing it because by the time I kind of figured out what I was doing and that I was actually going to do this podcast thing, that ship had kind of sailed and I just wanted to move on from it. It had been a couple of weeks and I'm like, I don't want to go back and relive all of that again. My frustrations with sports, again, is just one of my avenues for having this platform, and I'm thankful to be able to have it to talk about those with Dr. Jason Leinen or whoever my guest may be or whatever. But I'm going to share just a little bit of those frustrations and thoughts with you during this segment about the Ole Miss game this past weekend. Again, you heard a lot of those sentiments in my conversation with Dr. Jason, so I don't want to repeat myself. I know you've just listened to that, but I'm really ready to see some complimentary football on the field. I don't know that we've really seen a lot of that this season. It seems like it's a one or other type situation. It's just really hard to get past that. It's just been a rough go the last couple of weeks. And honestly, I mean, we had our good road win against South Carolina. Very thankful for that. Wasn't our cleanest game, but we got the job done, and we were able to do that against a team like South Carolina. No offense to Shane Beamer's squad, but that loss against Texas, this loss against Ole Miss, two very good ranked teams, I guess. Texas actually ended up not being ranked when we played them, which is a whole nother story, but I'm not going to go back and rehash that again. But it's just really frustrating to see kind of how things have panned out. And we've got 4 games left. I'm really hoping we at least finish 8-4. I don't see how we don't finish at least 8-4, but anything can happen. I'm hoping we nab one of the road game wins against Tennessee or Bama and finish 9-3, get a good bowl game, hopefully get a good bowl game win. We really need to end the season with a bowl game win, whatever that may be. So fingers crossed going forward on that. I did want to mention our starting offensive linemen for the Sooners were Fasusi, Ozeda, Nweu, Foje, and Makala. Luke McClinklow is working on backup, and Howland was backup on left tackle. We had 2 freshmen that started at offensive tackle this past weekend, and I mean, I feel like they did really good. I don't really feel like that was a factor for us on the field. So that was good to see our freshmen stepping up there because we do have a lot of injuries on that line. I would say the only highlight of the first half was with the Tanga turned on the Jets, 76-yard to the house. His mom was an Olympic sprinter and his dad was the Texas A&M track coach. So apparently he got his running genes from them for sure. But we had penalties. That safety was absolutely a ridiculous call. So many mistakes. Ben Arbuckle was just completely outcoached, if we're being honest. I know a lot of people questioning if Brent Venables has what it takes to be a game manager as a head coach and all the things that entails. Their quarterback Chambliss just ran all over us, in my opinion. Felt like that in entire half swung on Blaylock getting stuffed back on that safety, which was a ridiculous play. That play call was just super odd, in my opinion. It totally killed the momentum. We never really recovered after that. It was just really hard. Ole Miss had the ninth ranked run defense in the country, and by the third quarter, we had only run for 12 yards. Now, we did run for more after Xavier Robinson's play, but just to give you a little perspective on how not good the run game was against that defense that we should have been able to run all over, in my opinion. But yes, Xavier Robinson did have that 55-yard touchdown that changed the momentum. So my friend Ryan Broyles, I had him on the podcast just a few weeks ago. If you missed that episode, you should definitely go back and give it a listen. Former Sooner wide receiver standout who also played in the NFL for the Lions. But Ryan was up in my section. He has some friends that sit just a few seats down from me. I've actually seen him up there before, but he was up there. I started talking to him when that play happened, and I told him, you have to stay up here now. Like, you're sitting by me now. We're talking. Because I'm very superstitious, and he kind of laughed it off, but he left. He left the section, and I don't know where he went. I texted him after the game and was like, Ryan, bro, I told you to stay up here with me. I'm just kidding. I'm not blaming Ryan for my superstition, but just saying, he was up there, and that good play by Xavier Robinson happened. But Robinson logged 109 yards, 2 touchdowns on 9 carries. Pretty good day in my book. Honestly, I wish we could definitely see more of that. Kendall Daniels with the PBU on third down. We forced a punt. We had all of that momentum there. Just some crazy times. We had some opportunities to really take off with it, and we just could never capitalize on those opportunities that we were given. RJ Young on Twitter, he pointed out that Oklahoma gave up a safety possession, 3 points off that Ole Miss possession following the safety. 3 points from an SEC referee catastrophe. Yeah, that was nuts, but a whole nother story. Don't want to go off on the refs on here. It's a 25-20 in a game that OU could be leading by double digits if it played a clean game and the refs attended a clinic. Yeah, certainly not wrong there. There were so many calls. I will say we did not have as near as many flags and penalties as we did last week in South Carolina, but there were some missed PI calls for sure. And I know it goes both ways. I'm not just saying it was against us or would have been in our favor or whatever. It was just very frustrating. Like we get this PI call and then literally run the same play, same exact thing, and then we get a PI call. I mean, it's just, it's inconsistency from the refs, from the offense, from everybody. It seems like it was just so frustrating. And I just, John Mateer, 17 of 31, 223 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Satanga, 6 catches, 131 yards and a touchdown, 359 total yards. That's the first time that we've had 2 100-yard rushers and receivers in the same game this season. We haven't done that since the main game last season, which I believe was the 1st of November. Kendall Daniels, he's showing out 2 TFLs. But again, Ole Miss, their quarterback, 24-44, 314 yards, 53 rushing yards. Like I said, he literally kind of ran all over us. Kawan Lacey, incredible, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns, 431 total yards offense on Ole Miss. We just could not win the shootout. Unfortunately, we had that fourth quarter giveaway. Our defense gave up those 431 yards, which is just extremely disappointing. Xavier Robinson, he really gave it his all. Honestly, I feel like he should have the game ball of the week or player of the week or whatever they give out on the post-game radio show. I don't remember who they gave that to, Toby and Teddy, but I think they may have given it to Xavier Robinson. But nevertheless, he was the star of the day, in my opinion. Unfortunately, Satanga did have good numbers, a good game, but he gave up that safety and those points, and it really did cost us some momentum for sure. But we don't win when we can't win the turnover margin. -6 on the season. We're 15-0 the last 3 seasons. If we do win the turnover margin, we are 16-10 if we lose the turnover margin. And that is the last 3 seasons. So not good on that. We really got to get a hold of that for sure going forward. Post game, I think some of you may have seen a bit about Lane Kiffin possibly trolling David Stone on the field. I never watched the interaction. I heard the quotes and heard what was said. So I'm not really quite sure how I take it. I mean, Lane Kiffin is Lane Kiffin if you know how he is. He's a strange dude. I don't really know that he necessarily meant it anyway. I'm sure David Stone was running his mouth before the game or whatever, which, I mean, he he usually produces enough to be able to do that. But Lane Kiffin was asked about the post game when he said to David Stone, "You're a little quieter than before," end quote. He was talking about David Stone. They had that little interaction on the field. And Lane said, as his response to that was, "That's just me. He was talking the whole game to me. I did it good job that I felt of not talking back to him. He kept telling me, you ain't going to score and all this. And I didn't go and try to find him. He was just happened to be walking by and he took his opportunity basically." So, you can take that for what it's worth, but I did want to throw it in there. But after what happened, again, predicting our final record, we're currently at 6-2. We still have on the road Tennessee, a bye week, and then on the road to Bama. It would be exceptionally fantastic if we could nab one of those road wins. We do end the season with 2 home games. We have Missouri on November 22nd and close out the season at home against LSU on Thanksgiving Saturday the 29th. And then, of course, we are currently bowl eligible, so we will be going to one. And again, we really need to get a bowl win. And it's kind of up in the air where things land. There's a long championship November, so to speak, ahead of us, and that will really sort out the wheat and the chaff, so to speak. But a lot of upheaval at LSU. I know Dr. Jason and I talked about that, so I'm not going to go into that again. But there's just a lot of things going on in the conference. Missouri losing their quarterback. Jackson Arnold got benched at Auburn. There's just so much going on. There's a lot of coaching carousel changes going on in the conference, just across CFP in general. So how this November pans out and how the championship structure plans out is truly anyone's game at this point. I don't feel like there's any one team that's head and shoulders above the rest like I have in the past. And I feel like that's across the board, just looking at the Big Ten even. I know I haven't gotten to watch a ton of other games yet, but these next 2 Saturdays, I will be home for sure with our road game and our bye week. So I'll be watching lots of other teams. I'm sure I may have some opinions after that. For sure. Okay, so before I close out my thoughts on football, I wanted to give a quick shout out to my friend Keisha Howard. Keisha is one of the ones that heads up the Roughneck Little Sis tailgate before all of the home games. And she was so incredibly kind to invite me to their breakfast tailgate before the game this past Saturday. So shout out to Keisha. Thank you again so much for the invite for myself and my hubby. We had a great time meeting everyone and visiting, and the food was obviously delicious. But Keisha is the mom of Brianna Howard. And Brianna, I had on the podcast back in September. She was the first female Native American schooner driver. And she accomplished that on our season opener on August 30th. And when I saw that had happened, I reached out, connected with her, and was so glad to be able to feature her on the show, give her a little platform, just tell her story and just to highlight what she's done. So shout out to Keisha for the invite. And again, I got to meet Brianna in person. She's so kind, so precious. Those sweet Roughnecks and Little Sis do so many cool things for our university and our program, and they were all so kind. And so go back and give her episode a listen if you missed it. It was back in September. And I did post some pictures from this weekend on social media, so you want to go check that out. Snapped a photo with sweet Keisha and Brianna. It was so nice to meet her in person. Also, I met in person my sweet friend Robin. She is a huge supporter of the podcast. So shout out to Robin. I'm not going to say her last name on here, but you know who you are, Robin. She caught me in the stadium before the game. We stopped and chatted just for a little bit. And it was so nice to meet you and your husband. My husband and I had a great time visiting with you. And she is a big supporter of the show, a consistent listener. And I truly, truly appreciate all of that support so much. And if you see me out in the wild, so to speak, always give me a holler. You never know what my facial expressions are going to look like. I always try to keep that RBF off of my face. But if I look rude or mean, I promise you I'm not. I'm literally just clueless. So thank you, Robin, for looking past that and giving me a holler and getting to chat with you. It was so much fun to visit with you and so nice to meet you and your hubby. And also, if you're on Twitter, you probably know the name OU Prissy. She is someone I've talked to on social media as well for quite some time, a great follower and supporter of the show as well. She saw me walking outside of the stadium. I unfortunately didn't see her or make eye contact with her until we were passing. It was kind of crazy. I was in a rush to get to that tailgate that I was unfortunately running late to because of the weather. But shout out, thank you again, OU Prissy, for recognizing me and calling me out in the crowd. It was so nice to see you. Thank you again for saying hello. I love it when people say hello. And and stop and talk to me. And I hope to see you guys out in the wild, so to speak, sometime. If you ever see me, just holler out Sooner Girl. And if I ignore you, I can assure you it's not on purpose. You can ask my hubby, ask my friends. I sometimes get in my own little bubble and get a little clueless, trying to get better at it because of obviously I'm getting recognized in what I do. But I am so appreciative of all my supporters and all of the invites and opportunities I've gotten because of this podcast. And I just cannot thank you all enough. I also want to give a quick piece of information. Actually, Robin, that I was just talking about, that introduced herself to me on Saturday, she told me that one of the Vandy players, because I mentioned Vandy on the show last week, just talking about how they have really come out of nowhere and they're doing so well in the SEC, which is not normal, but shout out to Vandy. They're doing great. But Vandy player Cade McConnell, he is a 3-star O-line from Choctaw, Oklahoma, and he is playing very well, doing well for the Commodores this season. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Robin for telling me that. And if you're needing somebody, a little Oklahoma connection there to follow on the Vandy team, if we're rooting for them, Cade McConnell, number 70 on the O-line, is from Choctaw, Oklahoma. So cool little tidbit of information there. Okay, on to men's basketball. First of all, I want to give a good luck shout out to our NBA Sooners. We have Jeremiah Fears on the New Orleans Pelicans. We have Trae Young on the Atlanta Hawks. We have Buddy Hield in the Golden State Warriors. And we have Austin Reeves and the LA Lakers. Austin Reeves went off last night. Now, if you don't know, the NBA season officially started last Tuesday. And so they've all played a couple of games. Our Thunder, they had 2 double overtime wins. Our Thunder did revisit at the Pacers. And then they beat Trae Young and the Hawks. And they've been playing so extremely well so far this season. So anyway, back to Austin Reeves. He totally went off last night. 51 points, career high, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, 6 triples, and got the win, of course. He is the 5th player in Lakers history this season this century to score 50 plus points in a game. So he is an elite company there. So shout out to Austin Reeves and all of our former Sooners across the board. Jeremiah Fears has gotten to play for the Pelicans. Of course, Trae Young and the Hawks. He's a regular starter as well. And Buddy Hield, Buddy Buckets, has been doing his thing out at Golden State. Those teams come to Oklahoma City to play the Thunder, so check their schedule and try to get out and watch our former Sooners. It's always a lot of fun to catch them on the court. Our men's basketball team had an exhibition game at Wisconsin this past Friday in Milwaukee. They won 84-83. Xavier Brown, 18 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. Nigel Pack, 15 points, 5 rebounds. Darion Reed, 14 points, 4 rebounds. Jeff Nwanko, 10 points, 3 rebounds. Going to be a fun season, it looks like. A great team to watch. Sooners shot 52% from the field, 55 from the 3. They were 11 for 20. And 88% from the free throw line to beat the number 24 team on the road. I know it was just exhibition game, but sounds a little promising. It makes me excited. But next Monday, November 3rd, home opener, double header with the women and the men. 1 ticket gets you into both games. So you definitely want to check that out. I recently spoke with Tyler Neal. He is a former OU Hooper from the 2010-2014 timeframe, and he is now on the franchise radio, has a radio show. He's a color analyst for our girls basketball. And I talked with him, and I will be doing a basketball preview episode with him. That episode will be dropping next week on November the 5th. You will not want to miss that one. I had a great conversation with him talking about both the men's and women's basketball teams this coming season and just kind of our thoughts on the season and what we're looking forward to and the players and coaches and all the things. So you will not want to miss next week's episode. Basketball preview with Tyler Neal. So I'm super excited. Thankful that Tyler gave me the time to come on the show and talk about all things basketball. And I can't wait for you guys to hear that one next week. Our women's basketball team, preseason all SEC coaches team honors for Reagan Beers and Peyton Verhulst. So super excited again to see those girls get out on the court. And again, next Monday, November 3rd, you can see both teams in their first official game of the season. The men and women's doubleheader. So what a great opportunity to see both teams on the same night. So get out and support our basketball squads. There's lots of games coming up on their schedule, lots of opportunities as far as tickets as well, very affordable. So get out and support them. Also, quick reminder, OU women's gymnastics schedule is out. They start their home contests in January. Season tickets are on sale, so you'll want to make a point to check your calendar and get out and support those girls as well. Men's gymnastics also will be starting around the same time frame. Their schedule schedule has not yet officially been released, but I do know that it is coming soon, so stay tuned on that. Baseball, they are fall balling. Last chance to see them for free is this coming Thursday and Friday, October 30th and 31st at 4 p.m. So and that is for free at Eldell Mitchell Park. So you'll want to make a point and get out if you can this Thursday and Friday to see our baseball squad. I have not, unfortunately, been able to attend any of their fall games. I've been seeing some clips and stuff on social media, some photos. Look and sound pretty good, just from what I've seen. But a great opportunity to get out and support the guys and see them for free this coming week. Softball, last Thursday night battle series. I will have to say so far, I think the MVP of the fall season is Kendall Wells. She is our freshman catcher who also apparently can rake at the plate. And so you can't go wrong there. She kind of reminds me of Kinsey Hansen a little bit. I know we haven't seen a ton of her, so I'm not trying to get ahead of myself there. I want to see Kinsey Hansen in her for sure, I guess is what I should say, especially going forward into the spring. But Kendall Wells opened the night with the homer. We followed again by 2 from Nellie, 2 from Lexi McDaniel, again, also a freshman, 1 from Gabby, 1 from Sid Berthon, who's our new LSU transfer pitcher from the portal. Cassidy Pickering closed out the night with a grand slam because, of course, she did. Melissa Parker, again, our freshman, good in the circle and at the plate. So another well-rounded complementary player that Patty's brought in. She had 2 homers, a total of 9 homers on the night. We also saw Audrey Lowry in the circle. She looked good as well. Ella Parker and Kai Miner, also a freshman, shined in the outfield, had some fantastic plays. So it looks like Ella's doing Ella things. And again, just great to see these freshmen coming in, making themselves right at home at Love's Field and on the team. You can't go wrong there. Halloween night and on November 6th are the 2 last home battle series opportunities you have to get out and see the team. $10 general admission ticket. Can't beat that for our softball girls. So get out and show them your support and see some great softball because you're not going to be disappointed. I can tell you that. Our soccer girls are at a 10-4-4 record after a 1-3 loss at number 6 Arkansas this past weekend. But next up for them is the SEC tournament, 11-2 through 9 in Pensacola. They just found out that they will play Mississippi State this coming Sunday in the SEC tournament quarterfinals. So best of luck to our soccer girls. Coach Matt Mott, Hadley Morrell, that I had on the podcast earlier this summer. Fantastic people. So much fun to watch. Looking forward to seeing how they do in the postseason. And I have made another connection with one of the current players that I will be doing a season recap with here at the end of the season. So stay tuned for that. Our wrestling guys, their schedule is out. The season starts pretty soon. It's coming up November 9th at Missouri. I just talked to DJ Parker. He is one of our wrestlers and he is so kind, such a great human. Talk to him for an episode that will be coming up later this year in December. Shout out to my friend Greg Glass. I actually don't know Greg personally. We've gotten acquainted on social media. Again, just another great supporter and follower of the show. I sent out a plea on social media asking if anyone had a connection to someone in the wrestling department, and he was able to connect me with DJ, and DJ was so kind. I enjoyed our conversation and I learned a lot about wrestling because wrestling, I think, is one of those sports that often gets overlooked, and I don't know a lot about the sport, but I'm wanting to learn, wanting to familiarize myself with it, and of course, wanting to support my Sooners. So shout out to Greg Glass for helping me make that connection. Shout out to DJ Parker for schooling me on some wrestling during our conversation, and I'm looking forward to you guys hearing that conversation with him here in another month or so. Our volleyball girls are sitting at a 12-8 record after an unfortunate loss at Florida and the loss at Auburn at home just yesterday on Sunday. They do have a game at home against Arkansas this coming Wednesday, the 29th, so the day this episode drops, and also Mississippi State on 11-5 at home and Bama on 11-7 at home. Those are their last home games, your last opportunities to get out and support our volleyball girls. And again, please get out and support them if you have an opportunity to. I've made a connection with sweet Sydney Thompson, one of our players. I'm going to, again, wait till after the season to do a little recap with her, sit down and visit with her about her volleyball journey. And I cannot wait to have that opportunity here later this year to talk to Sydney. But get out and support those volleyball girls. They've still got a lot of opportunities ahead of them. So best of luck to them. Our tennis women, Julia Garcia Ruiz is headed to the NCAA individual championships after finishing as a single finalist. And the duo of Chloe Noel and sophomore Gloriana finished as doubles runner-ups. Julia Garcia Ruiz earned an automatic bid to the NCAA Individual Championships, which will be held in November in Orlando, Florida. So up next for the girls, they are in Orlando next week, November 3rd through 9th, and again in Lincoln, Nebraska, November 3rd through 9th. Some of our girls will qualify for each of those tournaments. So stay tuned for updates on that. Our men, shout out to my friend Bruno Naveen and his doubles partner, Oscar Lacitas. If you missed my episode with Bruno earlier this summer, you will want to go back and listen to it because it is one of my favorite episodes, one of my favorite conversations. Such an amazing story that Bruno has on his life tennis journey, how he ended up at Oklahoma, just great. But shout out to him and Oscar for winning back-to-back Norman Open champs. Just incredible to hear their success so early, especially in the fall. I'm just so proud of them and them representing our university well. Up next for them, they head to Harlingen, Texas, October 27th through November 2nd for the ITF 12K Harlingen. So best of luck to all of our guys in that tournament as well. Just a reminder, our rowers have the Princeton Chase coming up on November 2nd in Princeton, New Jersey. Our golf women are sitting at a number 25 ranking, ending their fall play, tied for a bronze finish on the Jim West Challenge in San Marcos just last week. So shout out to our girls. They have a great slate coming up this spring and they have been working really hard. And I love to see all the success that they had going into the fall and throughout the fall as they played. Gracie Mayo, Reagan Cheney, Audrey Risher, Savannah Barber. And then again, just overall as a team, we tied for third in that tournament. So just super cool to see our Sooners on any stage really showing out and representing us well. Our men's golf has the Williams Cup at Eagle Point Golf Club in Wilmington, North Carolina, just this past week, and they tied for 7th. And the last for the fall is I'm not going to try to say this, but it's a classic at a golf course in Maui, Hawaii, and it is October 27th through 29th as the guys close out their fall season, so stay tuned for those results. Just a reminder, we have lots of club sports. I also talked to DJ Parker, our wrestler, about the women's club, and he was able to get me in touch with someone who is in charge of the women's club wrestling, and I'm going to be connecting with them soon for an episode of the show. But we have the women's club wrestling, lacrosse, rugby, hockey, and we even have club soccer and club volleyball as well. It's just so cool to see these kids working so hard to represent our university. So I share a lot of that information again on social media when I can. So get out and give them a follow and support when you can. My Sooner MVP of the week is going to my friend Bruno Naveen and his partner Oscar Lacitas for winning back-to-back champs of the Norman Open. My tennis guys, such fun to watch. It's crazy. Just last Sunday, I snuck over and watched them practice a little bit before that tournament, and then they turned around and won the whole thing. So shout out to my friend Bruno and Oscar. Congratulations. You're my Sooner MVP of the week, and I'm just so glad to be able to cheer you guys on as Sooners. Okay, for my Sooner fun fact of the week, Oklahoma baseball product Danny Jackson appeared in 3 World Series with 3 different teams. He won 2 rings. The 3 teams that he played for in the Fall Classic are the Kansas City Royals in 1985, which he won, the Cincinnati Reds in 1990, which he won, and the Philadelphia Phillies in 1993. So it's World Series time, and so I thought a little baseball World Series fun fact would be great timing this week. So Boomer Sooner, always, you guys, thank you again so much for your support and for always listening. I truly appreciate you more than you know. This is the last week to get on and support the Project 31 with the breast cancer awareness shirts that I've made. You can find those at soonergirl.bigcartel.com. Again, all the proceeds of these pink and black shirts are going to Project 31. I will be presenting that donation to them in the next week or so. So through the end of October, hop on and get you one of those shirts. They're only $20. And again, those proceeds will go toward Project 31. I have lots of other merch as well. I would love for you to support me and purchase a shirt and free advertising for me, and just really helps me out a lot. Again, it's soonergirl.bigcartel.com. You can find that in my link in bio on all social media. While you're at it, give me a follow at SoonerGirlPod on all social media platforms. My link in bio on all the platforms will have all of this information. Don't forget to download, follow, subscribe, and share with a friend. friend, leave a comment, all the things, and everything's linked in my link tree, which again is my link in bio. On all of the social media, you will find that, and you will want to be sure and sign up on my Substack. You can sign up for free. The October newsletter of the playbook will be coming out soon. You won't want to miss that update as well. You can have it delivered to your inbox for free, so you do not miss anything regarding the Sooner Girl Sports Pod. Also, if you want to join the locker room, that's where all the fun stuff happens, girls. We had an online huddle with my friend Travis Davison from KREF Radio just a few weeks ago to do a Red River rivalry review, and we got out some frustrations with him, and it was so great to talk to him. I truly appreciate Travis doing that for me. But you have to be a member of the locker room to do our online huddles. I do plan to have some more guests coming up for that as well. I also am doing a ticket giveaway soon for my locker room girls. You get a merch discount. We have a private chat, Instagram feed, all the things. We just have a lot of fun there. So I hope that you'll come join us. It's only $5 a month. You can also do that on SoonerGirlSportsPod.substack.com. Again, you can find all of that in my link in bio. If you would like to advertise or sponsor or support the show in any way, you can shoot me an email at SoonerGirlSportsPod@gmail.com, or just send me a message on any social media. I would love to know that you're listening and that you're supporting me, and I appreciate it truly more than you will ever know. And again, thank you all for listening. Let's go get a win on the road at Tennessee, and I will see you all next Wednesday where we talk sports. And now to introduce to you this week's amazing guest, my friend Micah Thompson. And Micah is a proud 2014 graduate of OU's Gaylord College of Journalism and Mass Communication, where she majored in public relations and minored in nonprofit organizational studies. She spent a season on the OU rowing team before finding her true calling of working in the athletic communications office, where she worked for 5 years, including 2 of those after graduation. While she was there, she handled media and PR for women's golf, wrestling, rowing, and helped out with men's basketball, all during a very golden era of Sooner sports that included 10 national championships and more star athletes than she can count. These days, Micah is doing her most meaningful work of her life as the Director of Communications at Safe Haven of Tarrant County, the largest domestic violence service provider in Texas. She never had a choice of being a Sooner fan. Like I said, she is Sooner born, Sooner bred. She grew up going to football and softball games her whole life. Her favorite memory is the entire 2015-2016 men's basketball season, and we talk about all of those great memories on our conversation, as well as her great story of her Buddy Hield memory. You will not want to miss the story of the half-court shot that didn't count in the 2016 Big 12 championship game. We all remember that. She has a fantastic story regarding that, so you won't want to miss her story on that as well. She could talk for hours about that entire basketball season because she traveled with them quite a lot, so it was really cool to hear her story on that. She also kept a handwritten play-by-play to help out their computerized stat crew during football games during the days of the hurry-up, no-huddle offense in the Big 12. So pretty cool for Micah to get to do that. You can find Micah on Twitter at Micah_May and on Instagram at Micah May. And I will link all of that in the show notes, of course, and I'll be tagging her on social media throughout the week. And I am just so thankful for Micah. I've known Micah since she was in high school, and her family, and they were just truly amazing, great people. I'm so thankful to call them my friend, and I'm even more thankful that Micah decided to come onto the show and share her stories with me about being a former rower at OU and just growing up a Sooner born, Sooner bred for my Crimson Chronicles series. I hope you guys enjoy my fun conversation with sweet Micah Thompson. Okay, but I'm excited to hear all of your stories. Obviously, you said you grew up with all the OU things, so you always wanted to go there. That's how I was too, so I totally get that. Okay, so how did you get into rowing? Because obviously that you didn't do that before you got to OU, but you were an athlete in several sports, so you wanted to utilize
obviously
that.
I went to a very tiny high school, so when you go to somewhere small like that, you're expected to play every sport. Basketball was definitely not my favorite, but it was like I had friends who played softball so that we could have a 9-person team. So, you do basketball to do the thing.
Yes.
So, I grew up playing softball, basketball, and track. I had done tournaments in softball, basketball, and track. My dad was a coach and then an athletic director growing up. And so all I knew was sports my entire life. My mom always laughs, like I just grew up eating concession stand dinners like 4 nights a week for my entire life. And so you grow up doing all of that, and I think I could have gone to a smaller school for softball or track, but I knew I wanted to go to OU. That was the only place I applied. That was more important to me than anything. Mm-hmm. And so I had thrown disc with a girl from Washington, Oklahoma, and it was her and her sister. Her brother is James Winchester.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So Becca Winchester, and she was on the rowing team. And so she was a year or two older than me. And so we had talked to her dad and her sister, my senior year, and just about Becca and what she was doing and on the rowing team. And they were like, you should consider it if you're going up there. That's something I think you'd probably enjoy. Yeah. And so I kind of knew going up there and throughout the summer that I probably was going to try out. So I tried to keep in shape a little bit. It's really hard after that. Like after your senior year, and it's like, I don't want to go run. I don't have any reason to run anymore. Right. I tried to keep in shape a little bit. And then when I got to OU, when you're moving into the dorms, and I think it's probably a lot different now. I think they're probably a lot more selective, especially on height requirements. I'm not very tall, and it is very beneficial to be tall when you're a rower. So, when we were moving in, one of the assistant coaches came up and she was like, hey, my name is Megan. She ended up being one of my favorite coaches. But she was like, my name's Megan. I am an assistant rowing coach. Can I help you move in and talk to you about rowing and the process and all that stuff? And I was like, yeah, I'm actually very interested in it. So I talked to her, and I had a friend from FCA camp that I'd grown up with who was also planning on trying out. So that was nice too, just to have that friend and a friendly face there.
Yes.
So, I can't remember exactly when tryouts are. It's sometime in that first month of school.
Okay.
And they have a pretty lengthy, I guess, recruiting process where they're out on campus trying to get girls. When we were there, they would bring one of the rowing shells out onto the South Oval so that you could see it and talk to the girls.
Neat.
Obviously, a very great visual. It catches your attention for sure. So, you had a informational meeting, and then our tryout process was about a week long. We took a bus up to, at that point, we had the boathouse. OU had their own boathouse. Something was wrong with it or something. So we did at Chesapeake, and it was cool because they had the indoor rowing tanks and all of that stuff that you could get in. The process was a lot of just like trying to figure out how athletic you are and how, strong-willed you are basically. So, we would do like HIIT workouts, we would run. We did get in the tanks just to like work on your strokes and all of that kind of stuff. But I ended up making it. It was seriously a dream come true. I was talking to my parents yesterday about this, and you hear stories all the time of girls who play softball or soccer or volleyball or whatever, and they've grown up doing that sport, and that's amazing. Their dream is to go play college at the, go play at the next level or D1 or anything like that. But it was like, I didn't really have that for a sport. It was just like, I would do anything it took to be an OU athlete, because that's what I grew up dreaming about. Is I worshipped OU softball players and football players and really you name it. And so I didn't have that process, and I feel like a lot of rowers obviously don't get a lot of attention. So rowing is obviously not one of the most popular sports at OU. You probably, unless you know one personally, you're not going to know the name of a rower or the best rower at OU or anything like that. But for so many OU fans, like, these are like-minded people who are on the rowing team. Those ones who have tried out. I'm not saying ones who've recruited or whatever, but the ones who've tried out and have stayed there, it's like, these are girls who, so many of them grew up in Oklahoma. So many of them grew up OU fans, and they were athletes, but couldn't compete at the next level in their sport. But it's like, I don't know. It's just, I loved knowing that, like, how many people just loved OU and they just wanted to do anything it took to be a representative of that. And I know that's what it was like for me.
Yes, that makes sense. I have talked to, so many people about making a roster at OU or anything. But I can't even imagine for me, and I know I can relate to you on this, like, I'm not an athlete at all, but the pride that it would give me to represent OU on any sort of roster, and just wearing the OU on your chest and representing your school that you always wanted to is truly amazing. So for you to have gotten to do that is super cool.
Yeah. Me, and when I only rode my freshman year.
Okay.
But that was before they had their on-campus facility. So now they have that big, beautiful on-campus facility that's kind of, I think, southwest of Lloyd Noble.
Yeah.
But when I was there, our locker room and our indoor facility were actually underneath the football stadium, and it was not nice.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was not super nice. It was not pretty. We had these little steps on the west, I guess on the west side of the football stadium that you would go up to our locker room, and then we had an erg room, the erg, which is the indoor rowing machine. I have a picture, actually, my locker, the first time that, they put our nameplates on them, and it's like this bright red crappy painted locker with like a crimson thing that doesn't even match, but it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud to see my name. It's an OU logo. Just so much pride seeing that for the first time, and getting to compete was really cool.
That is so cool. Well, like you said, rowing is not a sport that people necessarily think of when they think of OU, and most people probably can't even name one of the athletes, which that's sad because I love all things OU and always have. But in the last year or so, even before I decided to do this podcast, I was like, why have I never gone to a soccer game? Last fall, I went to 2 soccer games, and I had gone to men's gymnastics, but it had been in college. So it had been, 20 years. Eric had been wanting to go. So I'm like, why have we never done this? Let's just go. So we found a time and did that. And then I went to tennis for the first time in the spring. Tennis is fun. And I love tennis. I have no idea why I've never gone. So I went to men's and a women's. And anyway, all that to say, I have gotten a lot of pride out of just attaching myself to following these different sports and athletes. And then when I started doing this podcast, I'm like, okay, I need to be more vigilant. Volleyball.
Yes. Yeah.
We're getting a hockey team in the fall, which is a club sport. Yeah. But still, I mean, I want to support that. Yeah. And so I've talked to tennis player, volleyball, gymnastics, the track coach. And I thought, why do these sports not get the support that they deserve? Because, you put in a lot of work as an athlete.
You
regardless,
do, Yes,
regardless
absolutely.
of the sport.
I obviously grew up playing sports, and my dad was a high school football coach, and so you can imagine I was treated like his son.
Yes, the son he never had.
Running was when I was in 3rd grade, so I was used to hard workouts, but it's like once you get there, you have no idea.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I felt like I was very used to hard workouts. My dad was very hard on me. Thankfully, I mean, it made me such a better athlete. But I remember we had one, and it was called 9 by 9 by 9. And so it was row 9 miles, run 9 miles by 9 a.m.
Oh, Lord.
And we did it. And
I would be dead. I'm certain.
And so we did it at our indoor. So at the stadium. So we rowed on the rowing machines, which rowing 9 miles. And so, rowing on an erg for 9 miles is a lot. It is not fun.
Yeah.
Being indoors and seeing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I know. It's like a treadmill.
Yes. And then we would just run laps around the stadium for our 9 miles for running. But it was, I had no idea. Yeah.
That's a lot of laps.
Yes.
Wow. So it's funny. I think, honestly, probably the only rower that I can name is Ethan Downs' wife.
Okay, yes.
Caroline. Yeah. And I only know that because I followed him on social media, from being a football player.
Right.
And I remember him tagging her or whatever. And so, of course, I've now since started following the rowing team and the coach and stuff. But I honestly don't know if before that I could have named any athlete. Yeah. And it, like I said, it's kind of sad because I'm like, these people are putting in the work and the sweat and representing our school. So I guess people can go out and watch them now that they're in Oklahoma City.
Sure what their schedules are now. I know when I was there, we had in Oklahoma City, we had regattas both in the fall and in the spring.
I think so in the fall,
it's a longer one. It's just a much longer course. It's kind of more about endurance. And then in the spring, it's more like your sprint season. So that's getting ready for NCAAs and things like that. So it's a shorter course.
Okay, cool.
Obviously we're not in the Big 12 anymore. My freshman year, we got to host the Big 12 tournament, which was really cool. So, we had a few extra championships that year, but it's really fun to watch. They typically, if you go to I want to say the one in the fall, it's not hosted by OU. It's hosted kind of by the Boathouse District, if it's still the same as it was when I was there, which was a long time ago. But they had food trucks out there. There are a lot of people out there. We were runners up that year, which was awesome. And I got to compete even as a freshman, which was really fun. But yeah, I just have really good memories from that. If you ever have a chance, these are athletes who are such, some of them are such diehard OU fans. Yes. They are working their tails off to be in those boats and make those lineups. So if you ever have a chance, definitely go support them, watch them. It's really fun. It obviously doesn't take very long just to watch them row by for a little bit, but I know that they would really love your support for sure. We loved any support that we ever got.
I was going to say, so I know that SEC teams, I don't think there's very many rowing teams in the SEC.
Are, I want to say Alabama has one.
Yes. Because that's where their like SEC championship was.
Tennessee.
I think A&M maybe?
Maybe. I can't remember who all has them.
It wasn't.
There's not a ton.
No, there were not. I was actually kind of shocked. Of course, like I said, I don't really know much about rowing, nor have I even followed it. I mean, I followed you, but I followed you, not the rowing team. So anyway, I'm kind of curious, going forward now that I'm paying a little more attention to it all, kind of what's going on. I want to hear your, okay, so how did you get involved into the athletic department? Because that will lead into, I want to hear your Buddy Hill story.
Okay, yes. So, the reason I actually quit rowing, I really wanted to have an internship and not just like I'll go once a week for an hour, or I'll go once a month for an hour. Like I wanted to do it.
Right.
And so originally when I went to college, I thought I wanted to do broadcast journalism and, be the next Erin Andrews. Like, and so I had an internship with Channel 5 in the city. It was wonderful. I was with Brian Keating. I spent quite a bit of time with him, and then Carson Cunningham. They were both there when I was there. And so they were wonderful. They taught me so much. They took me along to anything that I wanted to go to with them.
So neat.
They did like a live setup at OU Texas one year and got me a credential to be able to go do that. Which was
how cool.
Yeah, it was so nice. And I learned so much, but I feel like I also learned that just wasn't what I wanted to do. They were wonderful. And I'm so glad that I had that opportunity just to realize that's probably not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so I was really involved in FCA in college, and Kenny Mossman I can't remember his exact title, but Kenny Mossman was there at the time. And he came and spoke at FCA one time and shared his testimony, and he talked about working in athletics and how he got into it and what all he does. And I'm like, that seems right up my alley. And so I talked to him after, and he got me connected to Mike Hauk, he is currently over athletics communications at OU now. So Mike was just over basketball at that time. He was kind of second in command in the office. He moved up into the main role while I was there, but got me connected with him. And so I started out just, interning as a student. I started mid-semester, so was very heavily involved in basketball, of course. And Mike was over men's basketball. And so did a lot with that. So I was on there. I started that probably December of my sophomore year and did that throughout until I graduated, and then stayed on for 2 years after as well.
That's cool.
As kind of a full-time intern. You can think of it as a grad assistant without going to grad school. So that's basically what I was. Yeah. So as a student, I was over women's golf. So I had them for a few years. One of the first couple of years I was there, we had Ja. She was, I think she was a national champion at one point, maybe the year before I was there.
Oh, cool.
She was super good. They had a great team. We went to NCAAs. It was actually in Tulsa that year, so I got to go and travel. It was really fun. Yeah. I mean, it was my first year doing it, so it was really cool to be able to get to do that. And they were just such a lovely team to be a part of. They, were just so welcoming. They're all just down to earth and love to be around you, and will talk to you. And they were wonderful. I loved working with women's golf. And so once I graduated and I took that full-time role, I also added rowing and wrestling. So I was over communications for them. And then I did assistant men's basketball. And my first year of that was obviously when we had, that dream team with Buddy and Isaiah and Ryan and you name it. And we went to the Final Four and got to travel a lot with them. And it was really just kind of a dream come true. I feel like I still love talking about that season and just like the memories we have from all of that. And
I bet so.
It was really a cool experience. That was the best thing that could have happened to me in college. Met some of my best friends that I still talk to every day. Some of the interns that I worked with, we still have a group chat that we always talk.
Oh,
And
I love
that was 10
that.
years ago. So it was really cool. Yeah, it was a cool experience.
That is cool. When you mentioned your story about Buddy Heald, which I can't wait to hear, yes. I laughed because I remember that so vividly when it happened. And Toby Rowland and I just talked about that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes.
Just very briefly. He talked about Buddy and how Buddy was one of those players that kind of came out of nowhere, so to speak. You know, like he wasn't somebody that everybody was like, oh, we can't wait to see what he does. But here he just came and we were like, holy smokes. And now look at him. He's excelling on the NBA. So anyway, it's really cool like to hear that from Toby as well too. So it's funny that you brought up that shot because I remember where I was sitting when it happened. I remember watching it and just the like he made that, right? Like,
yes. So because you had given up at that point, 100%. You were like, it was kind of like, okay, well the game's over. We got to get back on.
So let's hear your story about it.
Okay, so I just feel like first off, like one of the most special things about Buddy is just like who he is as a person. Mm-hmm. I've worked with him basically for the 4 years he was there.
Yeah.
More heavily, obviously, his senior year, I was more involved with basketball, but he just was never too big for anyone. And I mean, you got to a point with him, especially toward the end of his senior year, where it's like, you're traveling with a literal celebrity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, that's what Toby was saying
yelling his name, wanting his autograph everywhere you go. And it's just like, he was the same person throughout that.
That's so cool.
He's just like such a special person. I feel like him and Baker both were very similar in that way. And for them to both be at OU at the same time, like that was such a special time in the athletics department to have both of them at the same time.
For sure.
I'm so lucky to have been there at that. But
absolutely, not to interrupt you, but that is literally exactly what Toby Rowland said.
Yes.
Because I asked him who were some of the previous athletes across any sport. Of course, you know, Toby does football, basketball, and baseball. If there was someone across those sports who stood out to him, and he said the same thing you said about Buddy. And about him being similar to Baker, same thing. Yes. Like they were never too big for their britches, so to speak.
Never.
They were always so kind and like showing up for whoever and giving the media the time of day and being so friendly. So that coming from somebody else also carries a lot of weight.
You know, and it's so funny to me. Like you'll hear people talk. I obviously work now with people who aren't OU fans, but they know who Baker is. Obviously, Baker. Like he's, you know, and it's like y'all don't understand. Like, you know, so many people hate Baker, and let's be honest, if I wasn't an OU fan, I'd probably also hate Baker.
Probably.
You know, like how he plays.
Of course.
But Baker behind the scenes he was such a nice person. Like he was the same as Buddy. He was never too big to talk to anyone.
That's so cool.
You know, he would joke with you. Obviously, none of the boys wanted to do media after a game or practice or anything before I go home. But so I'm the bad guy, obviously. Like, hey, you know, we're pulling you for media availability today. He would joke with you, like, my God, like I don't want, you know, but just like would do anything you asked of him.
That's so cool.
If you saw him out, and I had some mutual friends with him, so I just knew him like in passing outside of work as well, but never too big. Like if you saw him outside of work to come and say hi to you or anything like that, both of them were that way. And just,
I love that.
In a world where they had every right to be a celebrity and be too, know, like they were wonderful. So
that's cool. That's really cool to hear. I always tell everybody that Baker is like my spirit animal because I feel like he could be my brother. Like I want to be friends with him because we have a lot of similarities. Like sometimes we don't know when to keep our mouth shut. I would totally grab my crotch at a football game in front of instead of flipping somebody off. Like that's me. So I'm just like that. Me and Baker have a lot in common as far as that goes. So he's on my list of people to hopefully meet someday because I think that we could be friends for sure. But it's cool to hear those stories. And again, about Buddy too, because I think a lot of him and I love watching him in the NBA as well.
Yeah, me too.
It's cool to see. I mean, I do see the similarities with Baker and Buddy as far as them kind of bursting onto the scene and coming out of nowhere. And now look where they are today. And It's cool. I love it. And of course, like
really
you
cool.
said, if we weren't a Sooner, we probably wouldn't have as fond of feelings with Baker. But
exactly.
Yeah. But also, like, you can't help but love the guy because he's just so likable.
He is, and he does so many good things. Him and his wife are just so charitable, and they just seem wonderful. So
that they do, and I love that.
He's
I love
Sooner
that
for sure.
Yes, I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Okay, so Buddy's story. So okay, well, first off, just that whole year. I mean, you asked like my favorite memory. I don't know that I could pick one. It's just that whole year. It was just like, you just literally felt like you were in a dream that whole year. Everything felt magical. Like, it was awesome. You had that incredible Kansas matchup earlier in the year. And then I want to say on Valentine's Day, we had the matchup back in Norman when College Game Day was there.
I remember that.
And that was such a big deal. It was that whole time was so fun. We go to the Big 12 tournament that year. I should have done my research. I think it was a semifinal game. We're playing West Virginia, and I'm on press row. So at that point, Snapchat was really popular, and some businesses and sports teams were trying to get like Snapchat accounts going. And so I was the one that tried to get the men's basketball account going. So I kind of was doing Snapchat. I had other things, but that was kind of what I was doing for the game. So I'm sitting at the end of press row. I'm sitting there, and Jessica Cootie, who was the former Sooner Sports kind of like the sideline announcer, she did all of that, sitting with her, and then our social media person, her name was Maggie. So we're all sitting there, and it's at the point where there's no time left on the clock, and you're all just like, oh my gosh, okay, like, let's just get this game over with, whatever. So you kind of given up at that point. And I just remember, like, I'm sure it took 2 to 3 seconds for it to leave his hand to go into the goal. But like, it felt like it took like 30 minutes. You're just sitting there. And then, it goes in, and it's like, you don't even know what to do. And obviously when you're on press row, you can't cheer. So that was hard for me. You can't cheer, And so I just remember it goes in, and all of us just like stand up and freeze. And I just remember Jess saying, like, guys, we have to work. And so if you remember correctly, Buddy rushes over. I think he hops onto the scorer's table where Fran Frischel is sitting. There's that like famous picture of Fran, like, like looking at me like that, and Buddy's up there or whatever. And then he crosses over the half wall and goes into the crowd. Well, it's on the same side that I'm on. And so I'm at the end of press row, and I'm like, I have to get this on video. So you obviously can't go down the aisle. There are so many chairs, bags, whatever. So I'm like, I'm just going to hop up on the half wall. So I hop up on the half wall. I'm recording this whole time. I'm walking down the half wall. I fell off at one point. This Iowa State man like catches me.
Oh my gosh.
I have all of this on video. I mean, like, I was in the crowd with him.
That's
I think
awesome.
Maybe Isaiah or Jordan followed him into the crowd too. Like, I have all of this on video. Well, then they end up calling it off, and in frustration, I delete it. And so I'm like, if I had that, like, is my biggest regret. I deleted that video because it would have been so good. I mean, just to show people, even,
I know, yes.
So, you're frustrated anyway. That's a good story, but that's not the best part. So the next day, at that point, I don't know what they do now, but we actually bussed up to Kansas City, and we would all ride up there or whatever. So it's a long bus ride home when you lose in the semifinals when you're that good. You just like to be in the championship game. And so I was sitting there, and Buddy was laying in the middle aisle floor or whatever. Well, he gets up and he sits by me, and he's like, Micah, I can't even use my phone. And, Buddy was popular before that, but I feel like when that happened, it was like when he became just like, crazy popular. Everyone's tweeting at him, tagging him, messaging him, all that kind of stuff. And I remember his phone was going off so much that it wouldn't work. It kept freezing. So we had to go in and like change his phone to where he wouldn't get notifications anymore, because at that point he was still getting every time somebody retweeted him, liked a post, mentioned him, anything, which is hilarious to me that he was that big of an athlete.
I know. Yes.
And so we finally went in and did that. And I remember he sat with me the entire time back to Kansas City, and he had, probably 20 to 30 different views of videos of the shot. And he would go through them, and he'd be like, Micah, what do you think about this? I feel like I got it off in time on this one. And I'm like, Buddy, no, the one on the ticker doesn't count. It's just, behind the goal. Like, you have to, and you can see that it's red before it leaves your hand. And the whole time he's like, well, what do you think about this one? And it's like, I know that's a bad Sooner memory because it was a loss, but it was just like, I don't know, just that whole year.
That's
and
a
like
lot,
getting
though.
to spend that like special time with him on the way back. And like you grow up just being such a Sooner fan, and I feel like so many times I took it for granted because you're used to being around them all the time, but like just little moments like that, those are the ones that I feel like I constantly am looking back on and remembering. And that's just something I'll never forget. Like, you know, he just constantly, well, what do you think about this one? And he would find a new one on Twitter, and he's like, well, look at this one. I think I got it off on time on this one. I'm like, no, you didn't. Like, sorry.
Gosh,
you know, it was just like a special moment for me.
That's cool.
So,
that's really cool. I do wish that you had that video though.
I do too.
That would
I
have
can't
been so
believe
cool.
I deleted it.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I probably would have as well. Just
you know,
out of
you're
frustration.
just so frustrated because you're in such a high, and then it's like, gosh.
Yes.
And so I just deleted it without saving it.
Wow. And, I mean, I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
So I cannot judge you at all for that.
Yes.
Yeah, I know you said that whole basketball season was such a
for sure
a core memory for you, and I can imagine like I remember all those games you mentioned, and the game day being there. I think it was Valentine's Day that year, and I remember so much of it myself, and that was 10 years ago.
Well, I know it was crazy. And I also just want to mention too, we've talked about Buddy, but Lon Kruger is an angel of a human being. Like,
I have heard that.
I know you've probably heard a million great things about them, and it's like, it's not enough for how wonderful of a person he is.
That's so cool to hear.
When I started out as a student intern, we had a small group that we hung out together, and we had met him like in passing, probably at a practice or something like that, introduced ourselves. I would never expect him to remember my name ever, you know? And I remember one day we went to eat at Jimmy Austin at the golf course. We like to do that. That's their buffalo chicken wraps are like what I crave the most still, not living in Norman. It's not even my favorite food there, but I love it. And so we got there and sat down, and Coach was there. And at that point we were pretty new. And so it's like, Coach is here, you know, like it's still pretty cool to you at that point. You're not seeing them every day. And so we sat down, and he came up and talked to us, and he remembered every single one of our names. And we were student interns.
Wow, that's so cool.
Greeted all of us by names. And so, you know, we talked to him or whatever, we're ready to pay for the check. He had left, and they come up and they're like, hey, Coach got all of y'all's meals. And that happened to me multiple times throughout my time in Norman. And I got to know him better, obviously, as I started working with the team more. But anytime you would see him, he'd pick up your meal. And he's one of those people who I think he would probably be really annoyed that somebody's talking about something good that he did like that. But I just feel like, I think everyone knows Lon Kruger is an angel, but like, it's just, you cannot imagine how nice of a person he is.
You cannot say too much good about a person.
You can't. That's why, and he just, he wanted everyone to feel like they were welcome, and you know, I was just an assistant, like a 21-year-old girl, and like he wanted me to feel as welcome as I could be, and like just as important part of a team as his coaches, and he was just wonderful.
That's really cool to hear. I never met him personally or anything, and I don't know much about him other than I have heard people always say that he was a great person and that they always enjoyed being around him. So like I said, you can't say too much good about a person because especially when there's so many bad people and so much bad news everywhere. But did you deal much with the women's basketball team or anything, or was it mainly
a little bit, not as much?
Yeah.
So whenever we had 2 full-time internship positions when she graduated. So it was me and one of my friends, his name's Wes. And those 2 serve as assistant. So he would have served for assistant for football, and then I served as assistant for men's basketball. So I worked women's basketball some, but just not as much. I wasn't, as connected to it.
Yeah. Did you know Coach Cole at all?
Not well. Really? So she was decently connected to FCA. She would come, a few times a year. She would share testimony once a year. So she would come up there, and it was always really special for me. And I did tell her one time, I'm like, you're from Hilton and I'm from Belma Alma. We're from rival schools. And she was so nice about it. And so it was really cool just to see kind of like, a hometown girl who has made it to one of the biggest coaching positions in our state.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
That was always really neat for me. I feel like small town kids get counted out a lot for different things. So to see her do that that's really cool.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay. I was looking back at what all you had said to see what else was there anything else we were gonna touch on. Let's see. Well, I loved your little letter that you sent.
Yes, yeah.
To Buck. That's so cute. I will definitely have to share that because.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I just think it's cute when kids do that kind of stuff because,
yes, yeah,
like we were talking about, they're 20-year-old kids
exactly
playing a sport. And there's little kids looking up to them. And even me as an adult, like I get starstruck sometimes talking to them because they are such a big deal. And I'm like, they're kids themselves.
Yeah.
But they're also role models and it's just crazy. But like they're human beings,
it was so cool too. Like with Buck playing, I mean, we had gone on vacation with his family. Like, there was a big group of people from Velma, that had gone on vacation. We just went to South Padre Island. I remember I was 3 or 4. I just remember bits and pieces of it. But I mean, I did love football even at that age. Like my dad just, Same. I watched all the time with my dad. I understood things, and so it was pretty cool at that age to have someone, especially being from a small town like that went to OU. And I still remember my parents went to the national championship game that year. Misty, my cousin, was babysitting me in Velma, and I remember watching the game. I don't remember much about it, but I do remember when they ran out that I saw Buck while they were running out, and I was like,
so cool.
So cool. Like, I know him,
Yes.
And so a few years ago, he sent that to me, and that he had, and I don't even remember sending it to him, but he sent it, that he still had that note and took a picture of it. And then I found the picture, obviously, of him. We went to County Line Baptist Church at that point, right outside of Velma. And I don't know if he went there or what, but they had an event where him and another teammate came and after the national championship and talked and, signed autographs and things like that. So it was pretty cool.
That is so cool. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's very special for anybody to make a roster at the University of Oklahoma of any kind. So yeah, for you to have known someone, I mean, even nowadays, like, to be on the football roster is a big deal. I mean, I know there's so many guys that don't see the playing time that even they deserve for the caliber of player they are because they're at the University of Oklahoma.
Absolutely.
Some people choose to stay because that's where they want to be and others move on, and that's fine. Same with softball. I mean, honestly,
exactly.
Like you look at who's on the bench and you're going,
I know.
Cow,
they could start anywhere else.
Yeah, they could go somewhere else and start.
I know.
I always think, I know this is more recent, but I always think of Grace Green with softball. Like, she was an excellent player. Like, she could have gone somewhere else and been in the starting rotation. And I guess, I don't know her story, but I'm assuming like she chose to be a Sooner, to stay, to be loyal. And I think that's cool. I mean, I'm not sure how long her and Brian Meade were together. Maybe that played a part in it, but still, I mean, she could have gone other places and played, but she chose to stay. And I mean, that means a lot because, I mean, just to make the roster is amazing.
Absolutely.
To think that
especially like as an Oklahoma kid with her,
Oh my gosh, yes.
I mean, Buck was the same way, just as an Oklahoma kid, like it really does mean, I think, more to Oklahoma kids to grow up and, watching those teams and, idolizing those athletes. And then for you to be there yourself, it's just a really
surreal thing. I'm sure it's surreal. I mean, even hearing John Mateer, I mean, he's from the Dallas area, but even hearing him talk about, like, here's my offers I had out of high school, and he ends up in Washington, and now he's come back, quote, home.
Yeah.
But like, he grew up watching OU football, and I mean, everybody around here, you either grew up watching Crimson and Cream or Orange and Black, and
exactly.
So to end up, your dream school or really where you watched growing up is super cool. Yeah. And I really hope he has a good season because I really want him
me too. Me too. He seems pretty likable too. So
he does. I was at the spring combine and I went down on the field to get autographs afterwards. And I always feel bad because I don't want to be like the old lady that's like knocking over the kids. But there were a lot of kids. There were other adults too. So I just kind of stand there and hold my thing out or whatever and move on. I don't try to make a spectacle. But it just so happened that when he was coming my direction, I was like, I think I can take a selfie with him. And so I was like, hey, can I snap a photo real quick? He was like, sure. So I took a selfie with him and I was like, holy crap. Like, I hope that I'm really glad that I got that one
you
day.
took that. Yes.
But he was so kind to talk to. And Yeah, that was an interesting day. I mean, I'm sure you grew up watching the spring games and going to all that too. And so when they announced they were doing that different this year, I was like, okay, it's just the sign of the times. Everything's changing and all that. And I get it, but I have pros and cons with it. But that's neither here nor there. But it was a really neat experience. I mean, I did not like not getting to like actually see a game.
Right.
And I mean, we haven't really seen what these guys can do, which I get it. That was the whole point.
Right.
But don't get me started. But anyway, I'm excited for that. And it was a neat event. But we'll kind of see, going forward, what
how it
happens. Goes. But anyway. Well, okay. Is there anything else? I don't want to leave out anything that you want to talk about. Or, I mean, we hit rowing, how you ended up in the athletic department. I remember when you were working in there, and I thought it was so cool.
That was the biggest blessing for me to do that, because it was a wonderful internship and I learned so much. I would cut some of their stories for them that would go on the news. And that's something I still use today. When I work in nonprofit, I learn my video editing skills through them, and that's what I use today, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But I feel like having an internship that doesn't work out how you want it to work out is also just as big of a blessing as having a great one.
Out. Yep.
Because then I didn't graduate at 22, 23 and realize I hate this. Like, I have no experience and I hate this at my first job.
Yeah. That's so true.
I know this isn't a podcast about getting internships, but like having an internship in college was the biggest blessing for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm very thankful for my education in Gaylord. I learned so much, but it was very geared toward agency work, and that just wasn't what I was interested in. I wanted to work for someone and doing PR and things like that for them.
That makes sense.
And so, I feel like with that internship at OU, they just really allowed us to be as invested as we wanted to be. We could work as much as we wanted to, or you had certain set hours, but if you want to do something, by all means, go do it. And that was awesome.
Well, you figured out a lot of stuff. Yeah, you got to learn a lot by doing that.
I even had to go through, especially growing up in such a small town, when you go off and do big things, people are very proud of you.
Oh, yeah.
When I worked at OU and I'm, posting pictures at the Final Four and from the football press conference.
Yes, that's a big deal.
People think that is so cool. And it is. It's a cool job for sure. And, people are proud of you and, messaging you like, so proud of the work that you're doing. That's so cool. You're following your dreams. You wanted to work in athletics. And so it's a really difficult thing to realize that I need to step away.
Yeah.
And, I just got to the point the first year that I had the full-time internship. So I was traveling with both wrestling and men's basketball at that point. And in March, I was in a hotel bed 23 nights. And it's like, when you're that age, that's amazing. That is so fun.
Wow.
It's so
that's
cool.
A lot though.
You're constantly traveling, but it's like, I'm so close with my family. I'm so close with my friends. I was missing out on things.
Yes, that's a lot.
And I still love sports and still watch all the time. And I'm still invested and connected. It just was the right move for me to step back. And I feel like it takes a lot. And it takes a lot of growing up to realize that it's okay to make yourself happy and not just try to make other people proud. That's not what's going to make you happy.
You're not living your life for other people.
No, absolutely.
And that's what I have told a lot of people. I had a girl that I watched play basketball in high school. She lives in Ada now. And right after I started doing my podcast and promoting it, she messaged me and she said, hey, I just want you to know that I think it's cool what you're doing. And I love your passion and I love your platform and that you're wanting to showcase women, yada, yada. And she said, but I also want you to know that you inspired me to start this basketball club that I've been wanting to do. And I'm not saying this like to toot my horn at all. My point is like, I was like, hey, I'm going to do this because I want to. And she was like,
I've been,
she was like, I've been wanting to do this and I haven't done it. And I don't really know why, but like you inspired me to do it.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's amazing. You go do you and have a great time. And anyway, so she just started that earlier this spring. But she's, like, I mean, she was a pretty good basketball player in high school and she loves it clearly. So I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like if you want to start your basketball club.
It doesn't matter how good you are. Just like start it and have fun with it.
Yes. Because honestly, like my first few episodes were so bad. Please don't go listen to them.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I didn't know what I was doing.
Know, and exactly.
No, I didn't know. And I thought, okay, well, I feel like I need something to kind of help me stay. Like, nobody wants to just hear me talk for 30 minutes or whatever. So that's when I thought, okay, let's start talking to other people. There's plenty of stories. Yeah. I just started reaching out to anybody and everybody I could think of.
Yes.
That had any kind of connection. And I, in turn, got a lot of connections back, which has been amazing. But it's really cool. Awesome, I have. And it's crazy because I'm like, I don't really know how it happened. Like, I've been talking to a few different athletes, and I'm like, I just tag them on Twitter or message them on Instagram or whatever and just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Chris Plank, I do know him.
I love Plank.
I love Plank. He is awesome. Well, I name drop Plank, which I tried it if I feel like.
Yeah, well, you want to have a little bit of legitimacy behind it.
Yes. I mean, I'm not some random crazy lady. Like, hey, Plank's been on a couple of times. I've known him for a few years. And so that has helped me on a few occasions, I'm certain. But yeah, I love Plank.